Hi everyone, Simon Keeling here, weatherweb.net, and thanks again for watching. It's Friday 14th of February, and some good news actually, because it looks as if the weather isn't going to be as unsettled next week as it has been recently. We should see the last of those exceptional storms as well today, and then we should start to see what you would call normal weather, I think, coming in for several days. And of course we've been hinting at that, haven't we? We said from the 18th to the 19th it would go less wet. I always stressed wouldn't be dry, it'd become less wet from the south, and looks as if that's what's going to happen. So more on that in just a second. But this was a forecast that went out to clients for February rainfall and at the end of February, and it's still looking fairly reasonable. We're looking on track for this, probably more across southern England. We did change this a little bit late on in the month to change this figure here and bring that up to the 150. So it is looking a little bit as if this chart probably will come about right for total February rainfall. In fact, this is where we are at the moment, England and Wales precipitation. The blue line showing us the where we are, with the yellow line here being the highest recorded. And you notice here that the average look so far this month, sorry, the total rainfall so far this month up to the end of Wednesday was 77 millimetres. The average is 65 millimetres, so we'd already smashed that one by having 120% of rainfall by the beginning of the month. The highest ever recorded was in 1833 at 159 millimetres. So we are on track for that, but I have to say I don't think we're going to get there. I think what's going to happen is this blue line that you can see here will eventually probably do something like that, and we're probably going to end up with totals, I would have said, somewhere around about the 170% mark for the month for total England and Wales rainfall. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. And most of that rainfall occurring in the south and the west of the country. Again, this is southwest precipitation, and you can see here, look, that we had 112 millimetres to the 12th of Feb, and that's an average of 84 millimetres. So actually, we'd just trash that one. We were already 140, 150% of normal rainfall. Sorry, actually 134% of normal rainfall. But again, I think what will happen is this blue line probably will come across here somewhere like that, and we'll end up with near 200% of normal rainfall out in more western areas. Similar story for the southeast, 74 millimetres up to the 12th of February, and the average is 48. Central England totals not as wet. No, honestly, it hasn't been as wet. 36 millimetres in total to the 12th of February. 42 is the average. You see here, look, that we're lower down below the maximums. Northwest England looks like that, just about smack on average. Northeast England just below so far at 76% of average. And Scotland at 76% of average as well. Northern Ireland also below normal at 82%. So you see how those totals heavily skewed towards the south and the west of the country. So we'll keep on monitoring that. Anyway, this is the 7 to 10 day mean of the 500 millibar flow. Give us an idea of where we're going to go over the coming days. ECMWF here, GFS here, and good to compare between the two. Got a ridge across the eastern states here, trough into the Central Atlantic, and then the ECMWF trying to build heights a little bit across the UK and down towards the south. That's a more normal pattern that we've seen for some time. GFS makes more of the trough in the Atlantic here, look, and tries to bring it into the UK, but it's trying to build a ridge down to the south as well. I think the true answer somewhere in between these two, where we'll find pressure building across the south of the country next week. But I say building, it's just less low really. It's still going to be rain around, it's just less wet. But I think the strength of the jet stream probably weakened considerably, and that means that we're looking towards a more normal week ahead. Now, the latest from the Japanese Met Agency is out as well, and also their outlook into May. So let's just go through these quickly. This is week 1, so this is going forward from today, from the 14th to the 21st of February. And you see here, still got this deep trough look here through the UK, indicating that we stay with these unsettled conditions. And I think that heavily weighted, though, towards the weather that we're going to be seeing through this weekend with that deep trough in place. Week 2 runs from the 21st through to the 28th of February, looking like this. Still lower than normal height. It's trying to emphasise the trough off the eastern states and the trough through the UK. So still saying, look, conditions are fairly unsettled, but not as unsettled as it was, although still disturbed. And I think what we'll find is this shift to wetter weather going further towards the north of the country, with the south tending to become less wet, but still rainfall there as well. So no drastic change foreseen, just a subtle change in rainfall amounts. And then it does this for week 4. So this is from the 1st of March through, this is week 3 and week 4. So this is the 1st of March through to the 14th of March. And what this shows, look, is a trough across the eastern states, but this ridge building across the UK, and a trough and an area of probably what we'll find is low pressure at the surface here in the western Mediterranean. That would just hint at drier conditions during the beginning part of March. So there is this change showing through on the longer ranges. You remember as well that the CFS had that idea in there too. So not sure how strong this is going to be, or whether this has gone over the top a little bit. I think it probably has, but I think it's okay. I think the surface pressure pattern probably does something like this, where we get a weak ridge that builds in, and then we're more westerly across the north of the country. So I do think that the overall pattern seems to be there. Now then, what about the monthlies? Well, this is the whole of March as far as the JMA sees things. Strong jets coming across the Atlantic, exactly as you would expect. But look, near normal heights across most of England and Wales, and above normal just off the south there. So there's definitely this hint, particularly given this ridge that's across Scandinavia. What's happening is essentially, I think the model trying to see this trough and trying to create almost a compensatory ridge, partly a sympathetic one through the UK, and then the bigger one across Scandinavia. So I see the logic in this. And then for April, it keeps still this trough idea in the Atlantic, still got lower than normal heights through the UK with a weak trough. So again, trying to keep us fairly unsettled for April, but there is this kind of link through here, look, of higher than normal heights. So almost the Azores high being split between the Azores, or just east of the Azores and across Scandinavia, and allowing this westerly flow to come in at times, bringing rain towards the west and the north particularly, but perhaps not so wet down towards the south, although still fairly mixed, fairly unsettled, but not as desperately unsettled as it has been, although that is a screaming jet out in the Atlantic, and it's probably something we do need to take notice of in case it shifted further east and brought us wetter conditions. But at the moment, April looking relatively normal. And then May finally, well, for May it's trying to keep the trough idea in the Atlantic, but build this big ridge in, look, but keep another trough into Europe before the ridge builds back across Scandinavia and parts of Russia. So it's trying to build to kind of do that sort of pressure pattern. And what that would do is, at the surface, we'd probably have high pressure in here, low pressure in there. And of course, you've got to remember that the rotation around the low is going to be like so. So actually what it would do is probably bring in quite a cool east to northeasterly flow through the UK if that were to happen. So we'd find high pressure to the east, high pressure to the west, and just that low pressure down to the south. Perhaps keeping southern areas with nearer normal rainfall amounts, but drier towards the north. Something we'd need to watch. That doesn't look particularly brilliant to me, but it's not as wet as it has been. So plenty to be thinking of there. Hopefully that's useful for you. Thanks again for watching. Remember, we're kept completely free of charge by you coming back and using the site, and the more you come back and the more you use the site, that means that we can give you more and more information because we put more adverts in front of you, and that's what generates the revenue that keeps us free of charge. So thanks for doing that. But for now, thanks for watching, and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.